Well, we have been talking about it for a pretty long time now, a reset of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and today, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige came out and addressed a lot about the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, including confirming we are indeed heading towards a reset. In a recent roundtable discussion for the Fantastic Four, Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige revealed so much about the future of the MCU. He talks about the MCU resetting, he talks about recasting Captain America and Iron Man, and he basically lays out the future and what they have planned for the MCU, how they are going to go about things. There's a lot to break down. And again, it's coming from the best possible source you could get. Marvel Studios president Kevin Feige. Let's get into it. So there are two articles from Variety that we're diving into because they were there at the round table. One is titled Marvel's Plans to Recast the X-Men and Eventually Tony Stark After Avengers Secret Wars, but reboot is a scary word, says Kevin Feige. And the other is titled Kevin Feige on Marvel Studios' Future, focusing on lower budgets, less TV, and more Robert Downey Jr. Look at Superman. It's clearly not superhero fatigue. So, starting with the first, Variety reports the all-new X-Men are coming to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and an all-new Tony Stark will eventually join them. In a wide-ranging conversation with press on Friday, Marvel Studios chief Kevin Feige confirmed that following the events of 2027's Avengers Secret Wars, the company will recast the super-powered mutants for its upcoming X-Men movie, directed by Jake Schreier. And this is the first time that Kevin Feige himself has actually confirmed that the Thunderbolts director Jake Schreier will be the director for the X-Men movie. But it continues and states many of the actors who starred in the X-Men movies of the 2000s and 2010s are reprising those roles in 2026's Avengers Doomsday, including Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, Alan Cumming, Rebecca Romijn, James Marsden, and Kelsey Grammer. In future films, however, X-Men characters who appeared in previous movies will be played by new actors, along with mutants making their big screen debut. The decision echoes changes in the composition of Marvel Comics following the 2015 Secret Wars storyline, which involved multiple timelines collapsing and reconverging, mixing up the characters of the main Marvel timeline in the process. Kevin Feige said that we're utilizing that story not just to round out the stories we've been telling post-Endgame, just as importantly, and you can look at the Secret Wars comics for where that takes you. It very, very much sets us up for the future. Endgame literally was about endings. Secret Wars is about beginnings. And the Russo brothers said this before as well, and I'm starting to think Avengers Secret Wars might not be all we think it's going to be. Because for a long time, we've believed that the reset is coming after Secret Wars. We believe that Secret Wars will take place on Battleworld, and once they defeat Doom, Franklin Richards will start to restore the multiverse, and that's probably how it's going to go down, but the way they talk about Secret Wars makes it sound like perhaps it'll happen a little sooner than that. We'll have to wait and see. But it's interesting because it continues and it states, but Feige was also careful not to characterize the changes as reboot. Instead, the executive said Secret Wars will serve as a reset for the MCU. Kevin Feige said, "Reboot is a scary word. Reboot can mean a lot of things to a lot of people. Reset, singular timeline, we're thinking along those lines. X-Men is where that will happen next." So Kevin Feige right there confirms the MCU is going to reset after Avengers Secret Wars, starting with the X-Men movie. And if the reset is starting with the X-Men, then that pretty much means that the scheduled release date Marvel currently has for February 18th of 2028 is most likely going to be for the X-Men movie, because that would be the next movie after Avengers Secret Wars, coming only 2 months after the release of Avengers Secret Wars. And Kevin Feige gave us a little bit of insight on what to expect from the X-Men. The article states, Feige noted that the X-Men comics, with their focus on Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, naturally centers on stories about adolescent characters. Kevin Feige says, they have all been a place to tell stories about young people who feel different and who feel other and who feel like they don't belong. That's the universal story of mutants, and that is where we're going. And it's interesting because at one point in time, we did hear about an X Academy show, a show that Marvel Studios was planning for after Avengers Secret Wars that would be about students at Xavier's school. Well, it sounds like that is actually going to be a pretty big focus of the mutants moving forward post Secret Wars. So I wouldn't really be surprised if that's what we got, but it also sounds like we might be getting kind of an X-Men First Class situation, since it does sound like they are going to focus on younger characters. The article also says, though, Even more intriguingly, Feige also indicated that other Marvel characters will eventually be recast, including its most iconic roles like Tony Stark and Steve Rogers. So we've been talking about this for a while on the channel. It looks like the reports were true. Marvel Studios does indeed have plans to recast some of those main Avengers that we've had from the beginning. And it makes sense because the MCU is going to do a reset. That means it's basically starting over. And he actually gives examples of others that have started over. He pointed to many other major film franchises that have done the same thing multiple times over. Kevin Feige said Amy Pascal and David Heyman are now searching for a new James Bond. David Corenswet, the new Superman, he was awesome. That will always be the case. And it's very interesting that he is referencing two franchises that are completely starting over. Henry Cavill isn't Superman anymore. We have David Corenswet as Superman, and the entire DCU rebooted. Nothing is the same. No stories are the same. And we've been saying it's kind of going to be a soft reboot of the MCU, but it sounds less soft than we thought. It really does seem like mostly everything is going to reset. Of course, there are going to be characters left over, and Kevin Feige confirmed this. He did say some stories that are being built up in Phase 6 will continue on past Secret Wars, but a lot of it is going to be reset. And Kevin Feige sounds extremely confident, one, in Phase 6, but two, where they're going after. He stated, "You know, anytime anything that is considered a jumping off point is good, that is how the comics have kept going. I hope that's how this is our 37th movie. We keep going. The Fantastic Four is kicking off Phase 6 for people who keep track of such things, which comes to a close in Secret Wars, and it very much is certainly the most focused phase. It's all in the works." He continued and stated, "Not that you asked this question, but unlike Endgame, which really was an ending, and then we go, where do we go from here? What do we do with this level of success and this level of finality? We used it to experiment, and we used it to evolve, and we used it to expand too much. Secret Wars, as in the comics, is much about bringing certain storylines to a close as it is launching a new one. And that's what's very exciting. It's already well into development of the next saga. We're working on the next saga's 3 phases. So we're working on the next 3 right now. But really, the first phase of the next saga is directly impacted by what we're doing right now with these movies and sequels. So right here, Kevin Feige confirms they are working on Phase 7, Phase 8, and Phase 9. They are fully flushing out everything, which I think is definitely the way to go. And even right here where he says, oh, they experimented, they were expanding, they did too much. Basically talking about Phase 4 and Phase 5. It didn't seem like they had everything fully planned out when they went into Phase 4, but now they are planning out the next 3 phases well before we even get to the first phase of that new saga. I think they're finally understanding it, and even in the other article, Feige once again acknowledges some of the problems, but believes that the future is going to be better than ever. It states, consequently, Feige believes the well-documented problems Marvel's been facing over the last few years stem from an overabundance of supply, not a sudden drop in demand. He said, look at Superman, talking about how the film opened to 125 million domestically and has grossed 407 million globally to date. He states, it's clearly not superhero fatigue, right? And he addressed what happened after Endgame. He said, for the first time ever, quantity trumped quality. We spent 12 years working on the Infinity Saga saying that's never going to happen to us. We always had more characters than we could possibly make because we weren't going to make a movie a month. Suddenly, there's a mandate to make more, and we go, we'll have to do more. And yeah, they already revealed this. Disney made Marvel Studios make a lot more content, but now they're not anymore. So it seems like Feige is fully back in control of Marvel Studios, and they're doing it his way, which did work before. And I think rebooting or resetting the MCU, as Kevin Feige says it, is the move. We finally have a new universe moving forward where every character can exist there. In the article, he even states that he wants Miles Morales, but unfortunately until after the last Into the Spider-Verse film, Sony won't let Marvel Studios do anything with it. But that comes out, hopefully, in 2027, which means in 2028, when the MCU is reset, they could use Miles. So we're entering a new period where everything and anything is possible. And that starts with Phase 6 actually, not even the next saga. It sounds like Marvel Studios really does have a good grasp on what they're doing for Phase 6. They have a great plan, and they have a great plan on what they're setting up for the future of the MCU. Phase 7, Phase 8, and Phase 9. So I, for one, am stoked for the future of the MCU. After reading this, I'm so excited, but go ahead and let me know your thoughts about this in the comments down below. And Kevin Feige said a lot more, and we're going to be breaking it down over the next few videos, so be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on those videos. Don't forget to give the video a like, and you can also find us on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and Snapchat. As always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.